Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity,
not to make friends, but just to get something to eat?
Or a retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, good morning and welcome to 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. This is Peter Ferguson with Peter Ferguson BHS LLC. Joined as always on the ones and twos with Mr. Harrison. How you doing this morning?
Doing good. The bracket not doing too great as we talked about earlier, but it's still a good Sunday morning. Got a nice little bit of rain, as well as some snow yesterday. But again, kicking off Sundays as always with Bigger Than the Score, and we'll be here all day long for the most part. So 402-464-5685. You guys want to join the show? That's always available. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo, Channel 961. You can put a face to the voice. And just real quick, so I know we have ticket listeners. We had that ticket listeners bracket we voted for. Unfortunately, we did have Nebraska winning it all. But other than that, still 82% on the bracket. So I'll give credit to the fans. We got a little biased with Nebraska basketball, but I wish I would have kept this bracket compared to my own, because this one's doing a lot better. So we'll keep that updated. But still, not a bad bracket. The only miss so far is Nebraska. But other than that, it's a good Sunday. It's not freezing anymore. We got some rain in. Other than that, how's it going for you?
Yeah, I think the madness is hitting in all cylinders, not only just with basketball, but also the weather that we got this morning. Heard the thunder, and I thought there was like a car accident or something for a quick minute, and then saw it pouring. And I think it's real because haven't quite done the gutters yet. And so when I walked out, that debris from the leaves and stuff was shot out on the driveway. So but always nice. It's needed, and so again, for a variety of reasons, it's always good to see that. The brackets, it's that time of year. I mean, you go from the state tournament to the beginning of track season. I kind of remember that those first couple meets are never, it's like, what do they say? It never rains in California. You can't say that about Nebraska. So, fortunate to, like I said, be upright on 2 feet, but a lot of things to celebrate. Unfortunately, the Huskers just kind of ran into, I guess that you kind of say it, the buzzsaw of Texas A&M, which you knew in a lot of ways. Tremendous year. It doesn't discount any of the things that they did throughout the course of the year, but Texas A&M, you got to give your hats off. I was a real fan of their style of play. Every time when people talk about rebounding, that's what I made my bread and butter on. And they just, it's a skill, it's an art, but it's also one of those intangibles that people don't put enough emphasis on it, and they just did it. I mean, shots went up, shots went in, but I always looked at it as like, if a team shoots 50%, that's really, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But that means you put up 50 shots, 25 of those are coming off. And so, somebody's got to go get those. And when you put that effort in, you raise your percentage. And so they did a nice job of that, but also had some shooters. I think those who know the team knew that they, you don't get to that level and not be able to shoot.
Yeah, it was, I don't want to put it as a cop-out, but it was probably the worst matchup Nebraska could have gotten for that first game. And that's not to take anything away from what was a great season, but you look at a team that's number one in the country in terms of hitting the glass on offensive boards. It showed up, and I think the 3-point shooting just stressed them out. I mean, their offense isn't overly complicated. It's high pick and rolls a lot of times. How can we get Wade Taylor open? He's kind of their green light 3-point shooter. But when they're hitting everything at a ridiculous clip, which give them credit, but they haven't been shooting like that all season. No. And it's been part of the stretch. You knew they were playing hot coming into it, so it's not like you couldn't count on it. But I just think that was incredibly frustrating because you knew the athleticism, there was a bit of disparity there. And you could see they were really comfortable getting to the rim at will. You want to try to take that away, but when they're hitting every single shot at the 3-point line, you really start sweating. What are we taking away here? Because if we want to pack the paint, he's not missing every time we leave him open. And it was, you give hats off to them because that's just an incredible shooting performance. That's a lot to overcome, but it was just a really tough matchup for Nebraska. And I thought they could have played better, but still just a great season to get there. And I will say this, I know people are frustrated, but the foundation's been set. I think that next year going forward, you continue to build off this. Fred Hoiberg certainly got a lot more respect, and I think that's going to play with recruits. They see the Nebraska offense. It's a fun style. So you lost in the tournament to what I think is a really good team. But still, I think it's a great season to hang your hat on, and you can still use this going forward, recruiting pitches. I mean, it was a good product, and I think more people they're going to be willing to play for Fred Hoiberg.
Well, and it's when you don't know how to win,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes really hard. And the team took a step to learning how to win, protecting PBA and doing some other things. So, again, congratulations to the team, not only just the Huskers, but again, I've said it before, there's been a lot of area teams that have gotten to experience postseason play outside of high school. Again, my alma mater, Hastings College, the men got into the dance, first time winning their conference and the GPAC tournament in some 30 years. You look at Concordia, that's had a consistent stay. The women have definitely represented themselves. Coach Olson down there has done a tremendous job. And so you just don't, Nebraska Wesleyan had their men's team just a couple years out of winning the national championship. Those area schools don't get kind of sometimes the same love, even as at the level of the high school programs. And so we just always talk about that time and effort that they put in. Some really tremendous, some great basketball. But just for them, if you think about it, there's only I know with junior college and the levels and NAI, there's only, 8 national champions, across the board in any sport. And so I think when we start looking at that, it's great, with the Nebraska and the, University of Nebraska, Omaha and those kind of places. But, really think about it. It's hard, to get to that level. And then when you start getting to, even those other levels, when you're in the mix for a national champion, it is less than kind of that 1% across the country. So congratulations to all of them. A lot of other things kind of going on in the area. Just a personal, shout out and point of privilege. Happy birthday to Mike Alvarez. He's been on the show here before as a longtime show supporter. Got to go out last night with him and some of his friends and celebrate his birthday. Been a tremendous friend. And I've talked a little bit about his story. 5-6 years ago, had basically a widowmaker as a heart attack. And so just, celebrate those a little bit differently when he's in space. I know this morning at 8:00, he had a pickleball tournament at Speedway. So good luck to the Fighting Alvarezes as they take on things. Want to say congratulations to the Inspired Girls event that the Journal Star hosted yesterday. Just a tremendous turnout, but also a vision that Ava Thomas, that I've known for years and helps with the Big Red, sponsors that out in Omaha with Lee Enterprises. But that is her baby and brought a number of young women and with it being Women's Month, together to just celebrate the value, the importance of who they are, what they're about, what they bring to this, not only this community, but this world. And so thank you for her doing that. And just a shout out to just Dr. Christopher Pugh. We always kind of talk about what we've done during the week. And so he is from Georgia, and I was down there a couple weeks ago and had a chance to follow up with him. And his group is called Manhood Mindset, and just a really good, uplifting conversation about realities and truths of things that are going on. And so I know he said he was going to tune in and listen. So I wanted to give a shout out to, our listeners in Georgia. I'm not sure if they've got any teams left or remaining as we kind of had a little conversation about that. But do want to say, my team is left. Arizona, the Wildcats, the men are left, the women are gone. So you're seeing my tweets make a little bit of a shift. But Harrison, you talk about March Madness. What is some madness in March that you experience on a regular basis? So, in your, I've never asked you how old you are, but
24.
For crying out loud. You are just I'm like doubling you up right here. In March, what is some madness that you regularly experience?
Some poor financial decisions in terms of my brackets. That's for sure.
Okay.
That's always part of the madness. When it comes to March, really, the madness I face is just this is in the sports calendar world, just the definition of madness. Right. Like it is new, kind of getting into this environment where you have to get your knowledge ready for 64 teams. Yeah. And let's be honest here. I don't care if you're Stephen A. Smith or whoever. Nobody's watching all 64 teams. Right. You're going to do your best to gather that information. But certainly just the workflow is that madness time this time of year. And before we get there, though, I know we were giving shout outs. I do want a quick shout out to the women's team because they're still in the tournament.
Yes.
And before we get too far, they got Oregon State today at 3:00. And you want to talk about a team. They faced kind of the same thing with Texas A&M shooting. That's how you overcome it. You got to make great shots on the other side. So I want to give the women's and be sure to support them. They're not favored today by the ESPN Power or Matchup Predictor, but that's not accurate as we've seen in the past. So again, that one's 3 o'clock. Be sure to support them because they got number 3 Oregon State, and that's gonna be a good matchup. But yeah, when it comes to the madness, for me, it's really just the workflow. Especially the older I get, this is no more. It's fun to relax. You get to enjoy March Madness, but there's certainly a little more. Okay, a lockdown. I gotta get some key points away. I can't just have fun. Maybe have a few drinks with my friends. Like, no, I gotta make sure to retain this information so I can talk about it later. But that's kind of where a lot of the madness comes from for me. It's definitely still hovering around that sports world. What about you?
It's, working in education, and just different things. It's kind of that fourth quarter for the education kind of component. And so you just start seeing the realities of things hit in, those things that you're like, okay, in September, like, oh, yeah, we're going to do it. And then you're just like, man, we haven't started it yet. Or we're getting it. And so kind of like you, it's just everything gets bundled. So not only do you have like March Madness, the men's and women's, and that's something you kind of like, I'm excited about, but obviously did some traveling. You start doing some personal, but also professional development. We're starting a group, started a group annually called Tracks. And so it's just like, there's a lot, I sit in here kind of after our show and just kind of like, okay, let me just, spend Sundays kind of putting things together. And so family wise, you look at that, start preparing. I don't have to do it this year, but I'll have to do it again next year. You start preparing for graduation. And it's just that fourth quarter, like that March kind of is like, okay, wait a minute. You got April and May is, kind of the seismic, everything just drops. And then kind of June, there's a little bit of a leeway, July, and then it kind of ramps up again. So that for me is kind of that madness that comes in. And, you start thinking about health too. Like, January, either you've made those commitments. We got Fitness Fanatics on after this. And so I got to put out in the universe, but you either make those commitments kind of in those resolutions in January, or you start realizing like, man, if I'd have done what I needed to do to this point, I'd be Lou Ferrigno. So kind of for me, the last couple of years I've looked at that March as kind of the jump start. So I'm going to jumpstart some physical things as well.
Yeah, I need to get on that. I'm still one of those guys. I'll use the cold weather as an excuse, especially when you live in Nebraska. If you're going to use cold weather as an excuse in Nebraska, your journey is going to be put on pause a lot. So that is one thing.
Like
you're
this morning.
If you're one of those people like me, you got to try to get over that. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of mornings like, oh, I'll wake up, go for a run. It's not quite warm enough. It's a little chilly out there. Treadmill still exists, work out inside. But that's always a great goal to have in mind. But with that being said, we do got a young scholar in here as well. I want to preview a little bit about what we got ahead here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited on this one. We've got, we said a scholar, but if you've seen the post, we got a scholar and an entrepreneur. He's going to talk about that a little bit. But Josh, I'm excited to have you in. Go ahead and step up here to the mic and tell us a little bit about yourself too. Who are you? And then have you always lived in Lincoln? And kind of just introduce yourself to the audience.
So I'm Josh. So I'm a high school student currently. So I go to Lincoln Southwest. I'm a junior, and I also go to TCA. So I mean, that's as far as like scholar wise, that's kind of what I'm doing.
And have you always lived in Lincoln or elementary, middle school? We talked about that a little bit. What's kind of been your journey here in Lincoln?
Yeah. So I recently new to Lincoln. I moved here maybe like 3 years ago. So like the start of freshman year. Before that, I was living in Oregon. I did my elementary and like middle school all in Oregon. And then we moved out here just to be closer to family, like start of high school year. And so since like freshman year, I've just been in Lincoln.
Okay. So we just talked about that. So are you an Oregon Ducks or Oregon Beavers fan or neither?
Ducks.
Ducks? Okay. They had a rough one last night in double overtime. So good stuff. Who's in your family? Give a couple shout outs to who's in your family, who might be listening.
So I live with my grandparents, Jenny and Joelle, and my 3 siblings, Enoch, Eve, and Dorothy.
Awesome. Fantastic. And any pets?
Yeah, we recently got like a little dog named like Ella.
Okay. What kind of dog?
I think she's like a Schnauzer poodle, I think.
Okay.
It's like really small. It looks like a rat.
Okay. Is it one that behaves, or is it's kind of one of those wild ones you're still doing some training on?
Yeah, more wild.
What's been the best moment so far with the dog?
Probably getting it because I didn't expect to get a dog, and, like, neither of my siblings did.
Okay.
But, so one day, like, my grandma, like, bought my little sister the dog because, like, my sister Dorothy, like, really likes dogs, and so,
Okay.
like, that kinda caught me off guard, but I
Awesome.
like the dog now.
Okay. It's not taking over your space. You like have
No.
to set some boundaries and some ground rules of like, okay, this is my space. This is your space.
Right.
You interfere. You just came into this. We can go ahead and push you out. Okay. I like so talk a little bit about like you talked about your schooling. You said TCA. Again, I know we've had individuals in before, but what is TCA? Can you just it's called the Career Academy, but TCA for short. What do you do there? And then what other things are you involved in school, but also out of school?
Yeah, so for TCA, I go there for like the business pathway, just to learn more about like the in-depth kind of like business organizations, kind of get more of an idea of what the business world would look like.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm going to TCA for. Outside of TCA, I go to a lot of like Native American gatherings because as a Native, I like to attend those things. So I'm part of the Native American, like the Turtle Island Trade Coalition.
Oh, okay.
Currently, so and that's I'm really involved with the Native American community.
Awesome. And so you talked about your native culture and history. Talk about why is how is that embedded in you, not just through blood, but like just the importance. Like you talked about that's a piece that's significant to you, but important in your involvements and who
Mhm.
you are.
Yeah, so like it's kind of important for me because on the reservation in Oregon that I come from, it's very like low class, like most reservations. And so it's for me, it's as far as like an entrepreneur, it really helps me push myself to like kind of be better, kind of like help my community if possible. So I guess that's that.
Awesome. And you did talk about like you're going into business. We said that you're not only just a scholar but an entrepreneur, and we're gonna introduce that in the next segment. But you talked about some of your other involvements. Talk about like why you choose to be involved in what you're involved in. Like what's the selection criteria for that?
Um I wouldn't say there's necessarily like a criteria per se, but I mean, I really like that they're very inviting, very welcoming people. And I mean, I always have a good time with them. They're very like kind of like my second family. I go there every Saturday with me and my brother because we got a garden that we help out. So we got like a garden with the kids that come every Saturday morning, and so we kind of help plant the gardens. We have a new greenhouse now down on the East Campus,
Wow.
and then so it's really nice over there. Just big like small community, kind of feels like a second family.
So for those of us that I don't know if Harrison Gardens or not. So
don't got a green thumb.
okay. So we're not the green thumb type individuals. What is the one piece of advice if we were going to start something? What's the one piece of advice that you have for us?
I would say plants are picky.
Hmm.
Like it's very different, especially now that we have a greenhouse. Now you notice like it's not as like straight simple as like, oh, you get like a pot, you put a seed in, and then boom, you have a plant. Sometimes you don't get a whole plant. Sometimes you put like a whole tray of different seeds and like none of them plant anything. So sometimes it's got to be like picky and you got to like really tend to the plant. Sometimes you can't. It's not really straightforward. From what I learned.
Okay. I guess I wouldn't ever realize that because I would just shove it in the dirt. So like the dirt out there that we see in front of us, plant's going to be picky about that, right?
Right. Yeah.
I could have told you that because I've had a fair share of dead ones, so I found out pretty fast.
See, I go with the plants instead of the animal. Like fish, I found out fish are picky with the different kind of waters and things like that. So I just never understood that whole temperature thing. So that's great piece of advice. We're gonna have to we might have to go ahead and have another show of like gardening tips with Josh or
I'll
something
take that.
like
I gotta
that.
learn how to grow peppers still. I'm
Okay.
a big fan of getting some spicy peppers. It'd be cool to be able to grow those on my own. And yeah, like I said, I'm killing a lot of them. So to get that advice, that definitely helped.
Hey Josh, what's your favorite item to go ahead and you grow and produce?
I like the spicy peppers that we grow.
Okay. Ooh, that's
There we go.
right
That's what
there,
I'm
right
talking
on.
about.
I think you also do the chip. You also do the chip thing here at the station.
This chip challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that one anymore. Someone else can do it anyways.
Oh, so as you talked about being involved in a variety of different things, what's some advice that you have for like individuals, like especially let's just start with your peers. what's some advice that you would have for individuals like your age? And I always say like 0 to like 20, 25. Harrison falls within that range, for, to get involved in things. What's a piece of advice that you'd have for them?
I would say definitely taking the initiative. Like if you want to be a part of something and like you personally want to do something, it'll only happen if like you strive for that. Like the world's not going to hand it to you.
Okay. And what's the first step on being able to take initiative? I know some people like hear that word and, you got maybe like a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade or whatever. It's like, okay, I hear the word initiative, but like, give me a tangible example, what that's looked like for you or what that, what's a step that, it can actually look like.
Yeah. So like for me, like personally, like let's say we use like a coffee roastery that I have. The first initiative that I was once I was able to like realize that I could like roast the coffee and maybe like package it, the first initiative would be like going out and selling it, because I kind of realized it doesn't really matter how many like beans I could roast, how many pounds I could roast and put them in a bag. It only matters if I go out and find someone to buy it. So I think the first initiative was for me finding the people, like going door to door after school and asking different teachers if they would be interested in like supporting like a student business. So for me, that's what that looked like.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So if I was going to ask you like the advice you gave to peers, what's a piece of advice that you'd give to adults, or would it be the same thing?
I would say it's the same thing. For like anyone, like any age, I would say.
Okay. Is there any specific advice that you would give to adults that might differ from what you would give to young people?
No. I think just taking that initiative that helps anyone from any age.
Okay. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that you kind of led into. You've taken initiative, as a business, as an entrepreneur, to take some of your own advice and put that to work. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to invite you, because I've been very impressed by hearing about your story. But I'm interested to hear you talk about the story about Coffee by Josh. And what that looks like, and some of the other things that bring you joy in your life. So we'll be back on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score, right after this break.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
When you teach your children how to set and reach goals, you'll do more than just help them succeed in school. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Motivation and goal setting build confidence and instill a drive that will benefit children their entire lives. It will also help them become more positive thinkers. Working together, parents and teachers are a powerful team for student success.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Early Break with Sip and Jake.
We do not go quietly in the night on early break. We don't, and we won't.
Is that our motto now? Is that your show motto? Look at that. We let you have that moment.
Yes. We won't.
We won't. We don't.
We won't. It's our new one. Yeah, I'm getting a T-shirt.
But we don't go quietly in the night. We voice.
Early Break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Old School with DP and J.
Do you think it's too early to talk about Patrick Mahomes as the greatest of all time? You know, to be honest with you, I think he might be ahead of the pace. It was definitely on pace, maybe ahead of the pace. I think right now everything that he does is going to get overblown, and I think people so quickly forgot the 20-year run of the Patriots. Not 5-6 years. 20-year run of Tom Brady and the Patriots.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Early break with Sip and Jake.
We do not go quietly in the night on early break. We don't, and we won't.
Is that our motto now? Is that our show motto? Look at that. We let you have that moment. Yes.
We won't.
We won't.
We don't.
We won't. It's our new one. Yeah, I'm getting a T-shirt.
But we don't go quietly in the night. We voice.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
High schoolers, unleash your creativity and learn about potential careers in broadcasting at the Digital Expressions Media Camp. Have fun, make friends, and get hands-on experience with video and radio production June 9th through the 14th at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Scholarships are available from the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and spots are limited. Learn more at digitalexpressionscamp.com. That's digitalexpressionscamp.com.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. This is Peter Ferguson BHS LLC. And as always, joined on the ones and twos with Harrison this morning. And always truly appreciative of those who listen and just kind of tune in, send notes during the week. And whether it's on social media, provide likes or retweets or just kind of spread the message of what's going on with the show. I've been greatly appreciative of that. One person I want to shout out, Magic, every week comes in and just kind of just spread some joy and just really affirms and speaks to the scholars. And so know that, Magic, are truly appreciative of that. And DP and Rebecca for giving the opportunity for this space. If you want to get in touch with us or ask some questions, feel free to get in touch with us this way, Harrison. How?
Yep. As always, Starter Hammond text line. It will be open all day long for you guys. 402-464-5685. Face to the Voice, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo, Channel 961. Looks like we got a good group of you guys watching online as well. So again, you can always comment through there as well.
Awesome. And Josh, so we are here with scholar and entrepreneur Josh Chavez, and he is a scholar here in Lincoln, but also an entrepreneur. Talked about he goes to Southwest High School and also the Career Academy, and is a junior, I believe.
Yeah,
junior, making it happen. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Josh, and I'll kind of lead into some of the things we have here on the right behind the helmets, is what is something that brings you joy?
For me, I would say spending time with my family and probably just spending time with my girlfriend.
Okay, so time and girlfriend. You want to give the girlfriend a name shout out at all? So
Aubrey.
Aubrey. Okay, so Aubrey, if you're listening, Josh right here gives you a shout out and appreciative of you listening. Is she listening this morning, or is it too early?
Too early. She sleeps.
So she can watch the replay on the YouTube stream and everything. So something in our conversations that I learned, and so we talk in regards to the show that it's bigger than, the court or the field, and others have different interests. You are an entrepreneur, and why don't you just talk a little bit like what that is? Like what is an entrepreneur, and then what have you decided to be your stream and your focus?
I guess like an entrepreneur to me is just if I'm able to make money like to live off of without having to like give my time to like a job.
Okay.
So I mean that's kind of like what pushes me as far as like my business. So like what do I have to do to get to a point where I'm not having to work a job if I'm like self-sustaining from like my coffee?
Okay. So you talked a little bit introducing your coffee. So one of the things is that you have found joy in coffee. And I'm just really interested on how that started for you. When did your interest when did you become interested in coffee? And then let's talk about like, how did that turn into something that's like, hey, that's something I can make a business.
Well, I've always like drank coffee like since like maybe 6th or 7th grade kind of thing.
Okay, because Harris and I were looking and thinking like all of a sudden like it was a baby, is like a 2-year-old, you're like walking around with a coffee cup or your little sippy cup, you're like sipping it and you're like, okay, that's some good aroma right there. So
right. So I've always been drinking coffee, and when I was in like middle school, I always kind of wanted to own like a coffee shop.
Okay.
I wasn't necessarily thinking like a coffee roastery. I didn't start thinking like roasting the coffee until I got into high school. And that kind of started because I think I just saw like a YouTube video on it randomly on like the feed, and I kind of like piqued my interest, and I looked into it, and it wasn't that complicated, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to like roast my own coffee since I like drinking it, see if it kind of tastes different, if I'm like Super Savers coffee or whatnot. And so I think I asked for like a little small coffee roaster, like a 1/4 pound coffee roaster for Christmas. And I got like a coffee roaster that Christmas. And then I started roasting coffee on like a little small batch, like 1/4 pound roaster. And I started like kind of handing that out to like friends and family. And then one day, like my dad and my aunt were like, you should try selling it. And so I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't think it'll go well, but I mean, I guess I could try. So then I started selling it at schools, and it like went really well.
Wow. I don't know why it shocks me, but I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking about, okay, what most of us as young kids do, or some of us do. We start lemonade stands.
It shocks me.
Yeah.
To put a whole business.
Yeah.
plan
And
together.
so all of a sudden you're like, okay, 6, 7, like, okay, let's go do a lemonade stand. But like you're doing a coffee, you're doing a coffee business. And then how that started. And I think in our initial conversation, how, at 6th, 7th grade, like what was your first, like, I want to say memory of coffee? Like what spurred, like, you're like, okay, was it a parent drinking it? Was it the aroma in the house? I mean, what led you towards like, okay, coffee, and then you like the taste of it? Because some people don't.
Right. I think I've always like seen like my parents or my grandparents drink coffee. And so I thought I was always like, kind of like, oh, I always want to like be older. So like do what the older kids do kind of thing.
Okay.
So from middle school, I was like, oh, I can start drinking coffee now.
And I thought like when we had our initial conversation, like I think about my mom, and I remember like waking up and that Folgers commercial.
Yes,
the best
that's
part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. I'm not going to sing it like Raph and AD. And so you got that on clip. You ever heard that song?
No.
You got to go on YouTube. It was like the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. And she would have this huge coffee tin. And it's like you could cut your finger on it, but we used it for everything. I mean, it was coffee. You'd put Crisco in it. you'd like it would be used as a cookie jar, and it would take like years for the coffee aroma to like go out. But like every morning we'd wake up. She was an educator for 40 years. It was like I would wake up and you would smell that you would smell that, and then after the tin was empty, you'd like just keep the tin and store different things in it. And so that memory is something that will always kind of resonate and stick with me. Did you ever, since you didn't know the Folgers can, you recognize the can, the coffee? Okay. So as you have developed your business, we've got here up on the, behind the helmets, coffee, you've got Coffee by Josh. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your business, Coffee by Josh, what has gone into it? Where can they find it? Like what's the passion that goes, into these bags?
Yeah, so I guess the background of Coffee by Josh, I mean, it was never like I wasn't able to like jumpstart my business with like full like packaging and labels like that. In freshman year, I was selling it in like Tupperware. Like I would go to the store because I didn't have any coffee bags or any like labels pre-thought out. So I'd go to like Walmart or Target and buy like big Tupperware that could hold like a pound of coffee in it, and then I would get like a Sharpie and write like medium roast, and like the date it was roasted.
Wow.
And then it kind of turned into that, and the teachers liked it. They thought it was a little unique, like, oh, Tupperware. And I was like, they got to keep the Tupperware, because I was like, I'm just buying new ones anyway.
Oh, you didn't ask for your Tupperware back?
No. So
they just charged extra for that, or did they just?
No, I didn't even charge extra. I was
okay.
just kind of handing out Tupperware because I was like, I just kind of wanted to get it out there. And then it went from Tupperware to mason jars. Wow. I got like big mason jars, like glass mason jars. Because I think at like Walmart, I was able to buy them for like $1.25 like per unit if I bought them in the big pack. And then same thing, I would put it in a big mason jar, slap like a little duct tape label saying like medium roast or dark roast or whatnot. And then, hand that out to teachers. And they thought that was like super interesting. I was like, oh, keep the mason jars, because like I'm just buying more anyways. And eventually that led into, I was like, it kind of got too pricey with the mason jars and the Tupperware. So I looked into like coffee bags, and that wasn't too bad as far as pricing. And so that's when I got the coffee bags. But I didn't start having like the Coffee by Josh label until probably like 3-4 months ago. Like the Coffee by Josh logo itself is fairly new. Before, I would just get like a white like paint marker or white marker and just write on the black bag like medium roast or whatnot.
Okay.
So I mean that's kind of like the background of like the product itself.
So what is there any anything special? Obviously the logo is special, but did you go through a bunch of different designs and be like, okay, I want this, I was looking at this, I didn't like this one. Did you do the designing, or did somebody else support you with that? Where that, what's behind that? Is there some meaning behind like the font or anything like that? Or
right now, no. I'm working. That logo came from my aunt because she's a graphic designer. So she gonna help me like whip up like a quick little Coffee by Josh. Because at the bottom of the bags, I would write Coffee by Josh, and like the Sharpie or whatnot. So we kind of stuck with that. A lot of the teachers liked it. It's kind of like, oh, local product kind of thing. So they really like the local, I guess, aesthetic. So I kind of just played on that.
Cool. And so what, you've got different flavors. We're showing one like the vanilla, but like what, did you start with just kind of one certain type of roast and then kind of expand, or, how do you choose kind of the different flavors?
Yeah, so I started just with like a basic, I would like only sell medium roast because I was kind of scared because I've never drinking dark roast as like a person.
Okay.
So I was kind of scared to like roast a dark roast because I didn't know what that was like supposed to taste like. So for a long time, like all freshman year, like I only stuck to like medium roast. And so then once I kind of got adjusted to like how coffee roasts, once I got like a book about the different stages of the bean when they're roasting, that's when I started to feel a bit more comfortable with like expanding. And I started doing dark roasts, a bit light roast, and so then I could do like all the different kinds of coffee. And then once I was kind of like set, I was able to get light, medium, dark, down. And then teachers started asking for flavors. They're like, oh, do you have any flavors? And I was like, oh, like no, I don't have any flavors right now. So that kind of led to me expanding into flavors. The first flavor I kind of expanded into was cinnamon. I would buy cinnamon from like the store, and I would grind it up, and then I would put like the beans in a mason jar with the cinnamon and let them cure for like overnight. Because I noticed that would like that when it was brewed, it would kind of have like a cinnamon aroma if the beans were cured in like a little bit of cinnamon beforehand. And so that's what I started with, cinnamon, and that went really well. And then maybe a little down the line, some teachers were asking for like, oh, do you like caramel or like hazelnut or, you know, kind of different flavors. And that's when I expanded into like caramel and vanilla.
Wow. So was this all self-taught then? Or, I mean, you said you watched the YouTube video, but have you had any I don't want to say professional because I don't know what professional looks like, if that's, you know, the mill or Starbucks or what that looks like, but has this all been kind of like just trial by error and self-taught?
Yeah.
Wow. So as I think about that, because, you know, this isn't, you know, there's math, science, and English and, you know, weights and all that kind of put into this, but like what advice would you have for educators? Because this is, you know, I think this complements, you know, and supports somebody wanting to, you know, be involved in education so they understand the business aspect and some of those other components. But what advice do you have for educators to support, you know, a young person or foster, you know, and empower a young person, you know, being able to think, you know, and I don't want to say outside the realms, but outside the realms of a class, you know, that might want to bring this to them and be like, this is what I want to do. And it's like, well, you know, you should be a radio show host, or, you know, you want to be an accountant, or you need to be this. What advice do you have for them that will help foster more individuals like Josh?
I would just say the supportiveness that they give. Like all my teachers, they were very supportive, like all my like family as well. But all my teachers that I've been with, you know, at the Career Academy or at Southwest, every time I've mentioned it, they've been very supportive. They've always took like an immediate interest and kind of always wanted to like kind of help out. So I think as far as like most educators, I would say like really want to help their students.
Awesome. So, you know, we're going to go to another break. We've got this up there. We want to talk about how people can get a hold of you or grab your product, but I also want to ask you, because obviously you have a love for this. And so I'm interested is what is your definition of love? And then why do relationships absolutely matter? So after the break, we'll come back with Josh on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger at Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers. 93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket. Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When you teach your children how to set and reach goals, you'll do more than just help them succeed in school. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Motivation and goal setting build confidence and instill a drive that will benefit children their entire lives. It will also help them become more positive thinkers. Working together, parents and teachers are a powerful team for student success.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Back to Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score. This is Peter Ferguson with Peter Ferguson BHS LLC, and also on the ones and twos. Always appreciative and thankful for Harrison go ahead and keeping us in line. And also we had a drop in as usual. I mentioned him earlier, but one of your first customers, Josh, of the day. We're going to go ahead and hook him up with a bag, but always good to see Magic. If you may not recognize Magic, Magic is out on these streets with a nice haircut and a clean shaven and everything. Looks like he's a 24-year-old, Harrison. Looks like he can roll with you for the day.
I know. That's what I thought when he came in here. I was like, that's a young guy.
Oh, always fantastic. Well, hey, Josh, on our last segment, kind of just want to, continue. Your story has been phenomenal. Like Harrison and I are just kind of, every week we kind of nod our heads, but just the fact like you have turned, something that you're passionate about. You've put a purpose behind it and, put your love into it. And so I'm curious, if you were to define like love is, like what, just define love, finish that statement. Love is what?
I would say love is being able to do something like that you enjoy, but you don't. That's kind of hard. So for me, like roasting coffee, like I love roasting coffee, and it's always fun for me to do, but I'm not like thinking about how much I like it or doing it. So I think love is more when you find yourself doing something and you enjoy it, but you kind of don't realize you're enjoying it, if that makes sense.
No, I love that aspect of saying love is something that you're doing that you enjoy, but you don't realize it. And it's there. It's constant and it's present. You've obviously had people that have been involved and supported you through relationships with this. Why do relationships matter to you?
Relationships matter to me because for me, relationships have helped me like push my business. And I think the whole idea of the relationship or connections that you make with people kind of like further for me, they've further like given me a reason to push the business. So I think relationships really help build a community, and if you're a part of a community, then you're gonna strive to do something.
With that being said, what's one relationship that has been just instrumental to you in your past or current, or you've believed that will be instrumental in your future, your future success?
I guess one relationship would be with the Native community, with the Turtle Island Trade Coalition. They've helped me out a lot. They've at powwows, they've like given me free booths that I could sell at. They've always, as of recent, they've like been able to give me grants, and so they've been very supportive, and they've been very like always interested in what I'm doing. And so I think as far as like the Native community, they've really helped me.
Awesome. Give a shout out to that organization again.
That Turtle Island Trade Coalition.
Okay, so the Turtle Island Trade Coalition, really truly appreciative. I know Raft always does a lot of good takes, so I'm gonna definitely submit that as one as well. Before we get into how people can secure your coffee and future aspirations, what is something that either you would tell your younger self, or something, a 15-second, 20-second speech you would tell your younger self, or you would tell your future self?
I think I would tell myself if I was younger or if I'm older, just keep pursuing what you're doing, because there's been times where I've been like selling coffee and it's not been as good as the past month, or it's not been good in general. So I think just keep pursuing it and it will pay off. If you like have a goal and you do everything that you can to obtain that goal, it will come to you.
Awesome. Really, appreciative, obviously being at 93.7 The Ticket and 1040. We've got the mill here, and as you kind of see that operation and what that looks like, and they've been great supporters and sponsors. And so I want to thank them. I want to thank Derek Pearson and Rebecca for, being open to having you in, because they were very supportive of like saying, okay, this young man, what he's doing is really, really cool. What do you see as, the future for Coffee by Josh?
I would like that be something similar to like Aroma or Cultiva. I would love to have like my own little building somewhere that has like its own roaster, and kind of like a whole operation kind of like in like a little building. So as far as Coffee by Josh, that's where I want to take it. Like my end goal would be have my own building, have my own big coffee roaster. So I think that's where I want to take Coffee by Josh.
So if people were interested, and wanted to support you or just learn more about it, do you have a website? Like how can they either purchase the product or just learn more about who you are and possibly support your venture into moving things forward?
Right now, like the only way, I'm currently getting a website built, but currently right now, only way is by email.
Okay.
So that's just coffeebyjosh@gmail.com.
Okay. So your email, coffeebyjosh@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, a lot of teachers put orders through that way. So right now, like orders is very limited to like the email.
Okay. How much does the product cost, and then what flavors do you have right now?
So for 1 pound, it's $12, or if you buy I have half-pound bags, those are $7. As far as flavors, I do like just regular, straight up the bean, and then I could do like cinnamon, caramel, vanilla, and I could also mix caramel and vanilla. People like that.
Okay. And you talked about like you've obviously got these flavors. What's your favorite? What's your favorite right now where you're like, okay, that's my specialty if I was going to recommend to somebody that may not drink coffee or is just kind of getting into the game? Because I don't drink a ton of coffee. So what would you recommend for, Mr. Pete to go ahead and dip his toe into?
I would say the cinnamon. I really like the cinnamon.
Okay. Good choice. I think that's what we're going to go ahead and purchase. Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to purchase 4 bags and kind of make it happen. We already got Harrison one. We're going to hook, Magic up with a bag. And then for those who supported Bigger Than the Score, I'm going to actually leave one here. And I'm going to give it the opportunity for Harrison to give away sometime during the course of the day. So if a listener calls in or expresses or shows their interest, Harrison, you can talk about how you can go ahead and give that away, or how they can come down and claim that bag so you don't have multiple people. But if you do, you can email Josh.
Yeah, we'll have to think of a good trivia
Okay.
question for that one, because I feel like if we just try to give it away, we're gonna have multiple people all at the same time here.
Most
So,
different.
I think a free bag coffee. And by the way, for those wondering, as soon as he brought these out, I know they're sealed, but you can still kind of get that
Oh, yeah.
smell. They smell fantastic. So again, and I will put those in the podcast notes as well. So if you guys are listening right now and you are interested, I will get that from Josh. So just go to the podcast. We'll have those email in there if you want to try to reach out and get some. But yeah, we'll try to think of a good trivia question.
Yeah,
Give this one away. You got it off the top of your head? That'd be a good one.
We say, well, that might have to carry over to next week. I don't know the point total, for the game tonight.
Yeah, we can do something like that. I'll think about it over the break
go
here
ahead.
for Fitness Fanatics. We'll get that lined up. So if you want to win a bag of coffee by Josh, I'll think of a trivia question and we'll open that up with Fitness Fanatics. But nonetheless, we got a little bit of time here, Pete. I'll let you kind of break things down.
Yeah, no. And so, Josh, as you've given advice to young people and just others in general, what's a piece of advice that the best piece of advice that you've ever received that you feel like, man, I've received this, I want to make sure other people, get it?
I think for me personally, I mean, and my business, I think one time a friend told me, like change the things you could change and make peace with the things you can't. And as far as like personal life and in business, that has really stuck with me for the past like couple of years.
Wow. What do you see as your short term? I mean, obviously you're a junior in high school. What are some things that you're looking forward to here in the next couple of years as you kind of complete the high school journey and move on to that next step?
Right. I mean, I'm kind of like obviously kind of excited for graduation itself, like finally out of high school.
Okay.
But I'm also excited to go kind of into college. I'm going to go to SEC.
Okay.
Like out of high school. So I'm just kind of excited to where that's going to like lead.
What's obviously you're looking for that business and that future piece. What's a moment that you've kind of heard about that you're probably most looking forward to of like, okay, man, I've heard about this, but I can't wait to personally experience it?
I would say as far as like my business, one moment that I've heard about would be, I guess, the success of the business, because I've job shadowed at the coffee roaster here in Lincoln, and they have their own coffee roastery, and they were very supportive. They were like saying like what I'm doing is like great, and they kind of the next step they said would be definitely like obtaining a building and maybe obtaining like an 8-10 pound roaster. And so they said that was definitely like foreseeable. So I would say for the future, I'd most excited to see if I would even be able to get to a point in life where I'm able to like afford like an actual building and afford like a $10,000-$15,000 roaster.
And are you looking at staying in the Lincoln community? Is this something you want to take nationwide or across the state? Or you talked about like the reservations, you talked about giving back, and I'm really interested. Is that where does that fit into your kind of, I don't say business plan, but your future plans?
Yeah, I really, with like the Native American aspect, I really want to help a lot of like Native businesses and Native communities, just because of like the current state they're in. So I mean, every time I get a chance, I want to help the natives. I guess.
And I think that one of those real cool. What's the thing that you're most proud about being Native? I don't think we hear enough of that. And so why do you take pride in being Native?
I guess, well, it's always been a part of my, like me and my family. Like when I was in Oregon, we would always go to powwows, and it's just the tradition, like the language and the community that you find. Even though I'm like from the Nez Perce tribe, I've found like a second home and a second family here with like the Omaha tribe and the Lakotas and Dakotas here from Lincoln. So I would say it's stuck with me just because the community is always there. It's not like tribe based.
Wow. No, that's powerful. Hey, as we get ready to close again, Josh, truly appreciate it. Josh, again, how can they get a hold of you for Coffee by Josh?
Just email coffeebyjosh@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Hey, I'm going to tell you, it's smelling great. So I can't wait to go ahead and put this into my system. Support this young man. He's making it happen. And we are so excited for everything that you're doing, but what you will do. Join us next week on 93.7 The Ticket, Bigger Than the Score with Peter Ferguson.